Hey everyone, and welcome back or welcome to the channel. If you've been following along this year, you know that 2026 has been very eventful. I wanted a fun daily driver that could give me the performance and the luxury that I was looking for, and I settled on a 2026 Volkswagen Tiguan SEL R-Line Turbo, which, as you guys know, software issues pertaining to the turbo, and everyone in the comment section has been saying, Mike, you should have bought a Mazda CX-50. Well, today, we're going to check out what a CX-50 Turbo can offer us here just under $45,000. We're going to take a good long look at this vehicle, check out the exterior, the interior, obviously take it out for a test drive, and see why, if you're looking at buying a tactile, analog, maybe even a well-rounded daily driver, taking a look at the 2026 Mazda CX-50 might be a great decision. Now, before I dive into this video, I want to give a huge shout and thank you to Ira Mazda in Westwood, Massachusetts for letting me come down here to check out the Mazda CX-50. Their link will be in the description below, so you can check out their extensive Mazda inventory. So as always, let's begin with that pricing. For the 2026 Mazda CX-50 Premium Plus Turbo we have today, you're looking at a starting cost of just under $43,000. So with taxes and fees included, probably just over 45 grand, matching that Volkswagen Tiguan SEL R-Line Turbo. With this being the top trim, you're going to have all the creature comforts and amenities, making this vehicle feel luxurious as well. As you can tell with our model, we had the polymetal gray exterior paint color here, which looks really nice in different shades of lighting. So we have the shade here, then really nice and bright, and we have the terracotta seats. More on that in a minute here. Design-wise for 2026, it is a carryover model, so nothing new when it comes to the features for the exterior. However, this is one good-looking vehicle. So up front, you are going to receive adaptive LED headlights here, giving you that better visibility at night or in adverse weather conditions. But I absolutely love the grille design here for the CX-50 that we no longer see out of the CX-5s. This is all gloss black trim here. We have darked out chrome for the badging, really nice, giving us a lower profile appearance. And we have the darked out chrome outlining the lower portion of that front grille, making its way into the headlights. Really nice design here. Then you also have this functional side air curtain, as you can tell right there, giving you better airflow, helping out with the aerodynamics, maybe even the overall efficiency on the highway as well. Then you have your LED turn signals down here, so a split headlight housing, which we have seen quite a bit here in the automotive industry over the past few years. Here we have some contrasting accents, brushed aluminum accents right here, which do look really nice, although with this vehicle being off-road worthy, this might scratch up quite a bit if you are going off-road. Now, as we make our way over to the side profile, there's a few things I want to point out here. And it's going to be the fact we have wide fenders, giving us a wider track to this model, making it look rather aggressive. And it also protrudes out a bit more, even for the rear fascia. Now, some people are going to complain about the cladding around the wheel arches, but remember, the CX-50 is not supposed to be a direct competitor to the CX-5. If you want luxury, you want a full paint finish, you go with the CX-5. Whereas with the CX-50, this will deflect that road salt, debris, and maybe even the dirt if you are going off-road here. Now, for the tire size that we have on this model, these are 20-inch alloys. Now, surprisingly here with this vehicle, I don't think road noise is going to be too much of an issue, nor is the on-road comfort going to suffer here with the 20-inch alloys, but we'll find out during that test drive. But I do like the two-tone look on this model. Again, nice luxury aspect to this crossover. With the Premium Plus, you are going to have gloss black side mirror caps with turn signal indicators to go along with blind spot detection for added safety. We have gloss black roof rails, and as you can tell, we have that panoramic moonroof. And as we make our way around to the back, there's a few things I want to point out here, because typically for a mainstream manufacturer, they completely forget about the final third of their vehicles, but Mazda did not do that here with the CX-50. So first off, you are going to have LED taillights in a classy U shape and LED turn signal indicators. Now, with the CX-50, you have somewhat of a lower roofline and a sloping roofline near the end, giving you a hatchback-like rear appearance to the CX-50. That might affect cargo space and also second row seating area for the headroom. We'll talk about that later on in this video. Like I said before, we have the body lines once again which protrude outward, giving you more of a boxier but also a more rugged appearance to this vehicle, because even though the CX-50 is priced to be somewhat luxurious and on the higher end for the mainstream market, it does compete with the Ford Bronco Sport. So it's still going to be one of those all around great dailies that can do pretty much everything under one roof. Now also some minor aesthetics here. We have the blacked out chrome once again for the Mazda badge, the CX-50 all-wheel drive badge, and then also the turbo badge as well. And then giving us some symmetry to the overall look of this model, Mazda gave us the grille design here, which isn't functional, which I know some people don't like. It's a bit tacky for some people, but it gives us that aggressive look, that wider track that we want to see out of the CX-50. Then for the lower portion of the rear bumper, here we have the dual exhaust outlets and the color contrasting accents, once again giving us that sportier appearance and also a bit more of a refined look to the CX-50. But let me know what you think here for the Mazda CX-50. Is this still a good looking crossover coming in below $45,000? Let me know in the comment section. Powering our Mazda CX-50 we have today is going to be a 2.5 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine, producing 256 horsepower and 320 pound-feet of torque. It is paired with the 6-speed automatic transmission, and we have all-wheel drive here for better year-end capability and versatility. But Mazda is one of the more transparent manufacturers in this market because you can fill up the CX-50 with 87 or 91 octane, and that will play around with the numbers and the power output, but it's not a major sacrifice if you do go with 87 because you're looking at 227 horsepower and 310 pound-feet of torque. Either way here, you're getting a crossover that seems to be very fun on paper, and we're going to find that out during the test drive. But this is one of very few vehicles that should be engaging and keep you locked in on those weekday commutes and when you are dropping off the kids at school. So with the CX-50, it is one of the more special crossovers, in my opinion, under $50,000. When it pertains to fuel economy, you're looking at right around 23 miles per gallon in the city and 29 miles per gallon on the highway. And for the fuel tank capacity, you have right around 16 gallons. Now, if fuel efficiency is a top priority for you, Mazda does offer a hybrid variant for the CX-50. So something to keep in mind here if you're looking at buying this model. Hopping inside this Premium Plus, we're greeted by a classy color option here, which is terracotta. Now you can go with white, and by choosing white leather with the Premium Plus, you also get a different wheel package and wheel design, which no one really talks about here for the 2026 model. But with the terracotta color for these seats, it's a nice two-tone look for the interior because the terracotta extends to the door panels, and we also have the orange contrasting stitching, which is pre-existing in the CX-50 on the door panels and dashboard itself. But where the CX-50, I think, really shines through for its class, and even now today in 2026, is the fact that even though this is supposed to be a sporty crossover, an adventure vehicle that could go head-to-head with a Ford Bronco Sport, maybe at the time when this crossover first came out, the Jeep Cherokee Trailhawk, it's refined. It's comfortable for the interior. I hate to say they don't make vehicles like this anymore, but they really don't, especially under $50,000. You're going to have a lot more hard touch plastics and less soft touch materials because everything now is about touchscreens and technology. But with the CX-50, this is one of the last analog and tactile vehicles you can find here at around $43,000 to start. Now, with the terracotta leather trim seats, it's comfortable here, but also these seats are a bit more firm compared to the CX-5 for last generation, even this current generation for the CX-5. There is that nice distinction where you can say, all right, if I want something a bit sportier, a bit more aggressive, I got the CX-50, but if I want luxury, I'll go with the CX-5 here under $50,000. Now, because the CX-50 is a bit more aggressive, the bolstering, you feel it a bit more. It hugs you and it keeps you in place. In front of you is going to be a leather wrapped steering wheel. It feels really nice in the hands. Aggressive 10 and 2 and firm 9 and 3 grips. Also in front of you will be a head-up display, so that way you can focus on the road ahead of you rather than looking down at screens. Now, this is where I think Mazda does need to change up the CX-50 just a bit, even though I do like the analog gauges, and that'll be the information display. Very straightforward. You can go with more of a tactile look here for your speedometer, but then also you do have your average fuel economy statistics, then of course your lane centering and adaptive cruise control settings as well. So not super in-depth, but I think a lot of you looking for an old school driving environment are definitely going to like this particular setup if you're not really tech driven or tech focused. And that extends to the infotainment system as well, with the smaller screen with wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto compatibility. Also, we do have onboard navigation here for this vehicle. There are some pros and cons here to this software. In some ways, like the fact that it is simplified, it's easy to use. But then in a more practical setting, and we'll come back to this in a minute, it might not be the best setup, and why I see Mazda moving in the tablet screen direction where it's a bit more suitable for modern day buyers and drivers. Now, to use this screen, if you're not plugged into Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, you can have a rotary dial touchpad and quick access icons here to get your different menus efficiently. Personally, I think here, if you do use Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, you're never going to use the Mazda software. It's just too simple, too simplified, not super in-depth. So in my mind, even compared to the CX-5, this wouldn't be very competitive. But I think for those of you who want a simple interior, you're going to find yourself very happy with this crossover. But where the cons do come into play is with the camera systems. And this is something that I would like to harp on, because with this being a Premium Plus, you do get a rear backup camera, and also you will have a top view camera as well with trajectory. And the screen size is minuscule. It is minuscule here. And if you are parking on city streets, there's a bit of apprehension there. You don't have that great visibility that you are going to find out of the CX-5 right now for the 2026 model. And then also you do have a front-facing camera with trajectory as well with the Premium Plus. And again, because that screen is so small, you don't have that confidence when you are pulling out of a spot on a city street or maybe even parking in a garage. So this is something you might want to take in consideration here when you're looking at buying a new Mazda, because with the CX-5, that tech is now going to be suitable for modern day buyers. But that's just my take here. Continuing on, beneath the head unit, you are going to find physical buttons and dials right here. And actually, we're going to turn on the AC because it's actually getting a bit warm today. Now, you are going to have dual zone climate control. Also, you can have the buttons to your AC, front rear defrosters, fan speed, fan direction. And then beneath that will be your heated steering wheel, your heated and ventilated leather trim seats, and your hazard button as well. So all within arm's reach. I know a lot of you love to see that. Continuing on, for the center console, here we have a cubby for a smartphone or a wallet. You're also going to have two cup holders. For the center console itself, here we have the gloss black trim, which we no longer see in the CX-5. Next to the gear shifter, your leather-wrapped gear shifter, I should say, you're going to have your drive mode selector for sport, normal, and off-road. That is right. With this vehicle, you could theoretically go off-road, but I'd probably steer toward the Meridian Edition if you're going to do that, because that will give you some all-terrain tires. Then, of course, we return to the dial and the quick access buttons, physical volume knob and tuning, and then you have electronic parking brake, auto vehicle hold. Then for the standard storage compartment, you're going to have enough room for some smaller items, maybe a smaller tech gadget or two, and there will be a wireless phone charging pad as well. Then to round out the front seating area, above will be a panoramic moonroof, which brings in a lot of natural light to the interior. Now, for passengers in the second row, you're greeted by a surprising amount of interior space, because the eye test tells me the CX-50 is a small crossover. And then when you hop inside the second row, that's where it changes quite a bit. You're looking at right around 40 inches of legroom. Now, this now matches the CX-5. The CX-5 was very small for last generation. This time around, they've prioritized that interior space. With the CX-50, though, with the interior space that we have for this model, this outclassed the Ford Bronco Sport. This outclassed the Jeep Cherokee Trailhawk. So it had that flexibility. Yes, it was sporty. Yes, it was off-road worthy, but it was also family-friendly as well. Now, unfortunately, though, with the CX-50, it has a lower roof line with that more aggressive look, that dynamic look. I don't think taller passengers will be hitting their head on the headliner, but headroom isn't going to be as abundant as what you're going to find out of the new CX-5. So definitely keep that in mind if you are looking at the naturally aspirated version for the CX-50 for your next daily driver. Now, because the center hump is very aggressive, I personally don't think you'll be squeezing in a third person in the center. It just isn't going to be a 5-passenger vehicle reliably on a daily basis. On a shorter drive, it could definitely work, but I have a feeling that person in the center is going to be feeling very cramped and claustrophobic. Now, with this being a Premium Plus, you are going to receive 3 double heated outboard seats to go along with 2 center-mounted air vents and 2 USB-C outlets, so that way you can charge up your smartphones or tablets. And then to round out the second row seating area, you are going to receive a center armrest with 2 cup holders. Making our way around to the back one more time to take a look at the rear cargo area. With the CX-50 we have here today, being a Premium Plus, we are going to receive a power liftgate. And inside, behind the second row seats, you're looking at right around 31.5 cubic feet of room. Now, this would fall right in line with a Subaru Forester, Subaru Outback, would be similar to a Ford Bronco Sport. And the fact you have this amount of interior space gives you, again, that flexibility and practicality you're desiring here out of a crossover such as this. On both sides of this cargo area will be some cubbies for some smaller items, maybe a couple water bottles, car detail equipment, or maybe even a first aid kit. Beneath the floor mat, you are going to find a spare tire. So if you encounter a flat on those road trips or travels, you can fix that and be back on the road. We also have a rear cargo cover as well. So if you leave any valuable items back here, people won't be peeking in and seeing what you have. Lastly, when you lower the second row seats, and thankfully there are latches on both sides of the cargo area as well to conveniently lower those second row seats, you're looking at right around 56 cubic feet of room. And this is where you are compromising with the size of the CX-50. Because you have that lower roof line, even the dimensions of this crossover is a bit smaller than most compacts today in 2026. You're going to be missing out on that cargo room when the second row seats are folded. But as a family hauler though, there is enough space where you could probably fit 8, 9, 10 bags of luggage back here with limited issues. So if you're looking for that all-around great daily driver, at least on paper, you have that here with the CX-50. But what about when we take it on the road? No matter what compromise or sacrifice you think you're making here by choosing a 2026 Mazda CX-50 over some of the rivals such as the Volkswagen Tiguan SEL R-Line Turbo with the massaging seats and ambient lighting, or maybe even a Toyota RAV4 with the hybrid powertrain coming standard with its larger presence giving you better practicality, or even the Hyundai Tucson, for example, you get paid back tenfold with the overall driving experience and the driving characteristics that, in my mind, is unrivaled here with the CX-50. First and foremost, you don't need to spend $45,000 to get this turbocharged four-cylinder engine. You can go with a base trim with the turbo for around $37,500. And now you're getting a vehicle that undercuts a lot of its rivals, because with the Volkswagen Tiguan, to get the max output, you are spending $45,000. That is not the case here with this crossover. You also get a 6-speed automatic transmission that, okay, isn't dynamic, isn't a ZF8 speed, isn't a 7-speed dual clutch, but fits the personality of this crossover really well. I would not put this vehicle in sport mode, surprisingly, because I don't think it's necessary. In sport mode, it holds onto the gears just a little bit too long. It's a bit annoying for me. And this is not a crossover that you're going to be taking out to the Autobahn or some track upshifting and downshifting. So I think the 6-speed automatic is going to be more than suitable for a daily driver such as this. But for me, though, and this is the big difference compared to the CX-5 for last generation, and then obviously the current generation CX-5, this suspension is tuned, I think, for a sportier driving experience, but also for the off-road capability, right, with the Meridian edition. It also has a wider track, masking the fact we have some ground clearance here. So you have a lower center of gravity, and then when you're on these winding back roads, you have that connectivity. You have that nice planted feel where you're not going to have the body roll and you're not going to be swaying out of these seats. In some ways, the CX-50, which you no longer get out of the CX-5, is almost like a Japanese BMW X3. And that might be going a little too far, but the performance is most certainly there, right? Over 220 horsepower, 310 pound-feet of torque if you go with 87 octane, 256 horsepower, 320 pound-feet of torque with premium fuel. And you're getting a vehicle that, starting at $37,000 with the turbo, is embarrassing a lot of rivals in this class. But then you also get the benefit of this suspension where in the corners such as this, you get a nice firm weighted steering feel. And that gives you even more engagement here on these winding back roads. This is a vehicle for an enthusiast. This is a vehicle for someone who doesn't want a passive driving experience where they're going to have the technology kind of override everything for them and get them safely to their destination. This is a crossover that you want to be fully locked in and involved in the overall performance of this vehicle. And while this crossover isn't immune to criticism, and it has its own weak spots and it has its downsides, especially with its age, you can be happy with the compromises that you are making here because there's no other vehicle replicating this. There's no other vehicle that has a suspension tuned like this for multi-purpose driving. And that's what the CX-50, in my mind, is, a special crossover and a bridge between the CX-5 and CX-70. That under $50,000, this is maybe a more one-track minded daily driver, right? Like, it's not going to be overly luxurious or opulent, not going to have some maybe gizmos and gadgets that some of you would like, or it would just be necessities. But it has the makeup and character of a mainstream crossover, sprinkling in some luxury refinements that now just isn't found anymore. And I'm talking about the fit and finish. I'm talking about the interior insulation. I'm talking about the fact we have such materials on the dashboard, on the door panels. And sure, this isn't going to give you the cheap thrills that you're going to find out of Volkswagen right now. It might not give you the fuel efficiency that you're going to find out of a new Toyota RAV4. But it gives you this well-rounded driving experience that, to me, makes the CX-50 special. To me, fits the zoom characteristic, the zoom marketing aspect of the brand that you're not going to find out of the new CX-5. And to get this higher up in the product line, you're spending $55,000 or $60,000. So guys, let me know what you think here about the 2026 Mazda CX-50 Premium Plus Turbo. Is this the perfect all-around daily driver? Yes, doesn't have ambient lighting, doesn't have massaging seats, but it has just enough to give you a great value proposition here under 50 grand. Guys, once again, thanks so much for watching, take care, and I will see you guys next time.